doesn't favor fools.
Hey guys, so it's an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with a Misfortune updated complete guide, and now with this updated complete guide, I believe that I have actually covered every single ADC that requires an updated complete guide for patch 3.1 plus. So now we're at the point where patch 3.2 is basically only I think 2 weeks or less away. Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks or less away, but we've taken some time to cover all of the updated builds, so hopefully there's no huge item changes or anything. Like, let's say Stormrazor gets nerfed 2080 or something for some reason, and then we're gonna have an issue where we're gonna have to cover everything all over again. But anyways, yep, so we've covered all of the updated complete guides already, so hopefully you guys enjoyed all that and found all that useful. So today we're doing the last one, which is Misfortune. So there are some that I'm not gonna do any updated complete guide. For example, Varus, because his build never changed. He still goes for that same full lethality build. Alright, so now talking about Misfortune. Now personally, I think that Misfortune isn't too bad of a champion. I think that she's a plus tier. Now, the main reasons I put her there is, firstly, she has a very strong early game which can compete with a lot of champions, especially if she's underestimated. Like, you can compete early game with like, Jinxes, Kaisas, a lot of the meta champions you can compete with. And next, of course, is the main reason why you even pick Misfortune, which is for her huge teamfight ultimate. So, in the correct team comp, like one with large AoE CC, like you don't even need multiple, but if you have one Amumu or one Malphite, something like that, or even better, you have two. Like, let's say you have a Seraphine ultimate and a Malphite ultimate, for example. Like, if you have two huge AoE CCs, Misfortune can get a very good chance to hit her ultimate onto multiple targets for a longer duration, which is gonna make her do insane amounts of damage. Now, of course, you don't want to be picking Misfortune into with a team with no CC at all, or no AoE CC at all, those kind of huge teamfight ultimates, because it's not going to be very fun for you, because you can't really hit your ultimate all that much. Alright, so now as usual for all these updated complete guides, I'm going to be putting the link for the original Misfortune complete guide as well as in the cards above for you guys to refer for the skills and leveling order. This is so that we don't have to waste too much time to cover that in this video, and it won't be too long. So actually, surprisingly, Misfortune, I do have a level 5 mastery in Misfortune. I used to play a ton of Misfortune, but ever since she fell off, I kind of stopped playing her all that much. Anyways, here we have the build for Misfortune, and actually there are a couple of errors in this build, like for example the boots. So yeah, alright, so now we're gonna jump into the items, then we'll talk about runes and spells later on. So first up, this item build is the item build used by the top 1 Misfortune all the way through to the top 9th Misfortune. So the only time where all of the top 9 Misfortune builds are literally identical to this. It's only the 10th top Misfortune it has a different build. Either way, first up you want to start with a mana mune. So this is personally what I always feel to be the best item anyways, because this gives you a lot of mana, which even with the mana mune, Misfortune's mana still is an issue. So but this will alleviate the problem by a great deal. So mostly this is for the mana, but also you want that ability haste, and also that on hit does prompt with your Q bounce when you evolve it to the mirror mana, so that will increase your damage by a lot. Now with lethality Misfortune, your main form of damage is going to be spamming your Q as well as your ultimate, of course. Your auto attacks do of course deal damage, but it's not going to be as effective as a crit Misfortune. So next up, Edge of Night, of course, gives you mainly what you want from the Edge of Night is, of course, the 8 lethality as well as the spell shield that, of course, blocks any incoming damage. Now this, of course, could be replaced with something like Yomu's Ghost Blade or Dust Blade, even if you so prefer. But personally, Edge of Night is obviously the best option, because as an ADC, you want the safety. And yeah, so next up for boots, you can go for Ionian Boots of Lucidity for the cooldown. If not, you go for defensive boots. You don't really need the Gluttonous Greaves, because you're building a lethality kind of build which doesn't have too much DPS, unlike general normal ADC. So this is like Varus, where you build Lucidity boots or defensive boots. Then you go for Serelda's Grudge, which of course gives you more AD, more ability haste, and also you get the armor penetration, and most importantly the Icy passive. So Icy passive obviously allows you to slow people down, and when you hit 3 items with the Serelda's Grudge is when you're really strong, because people have difficulty escaping your ultimate at this point in time because of the Icy slow, especially if you combo it together with your E, your Make It Rain. Then, this is an interesting one, you actually go for Black Cleaver as your second last item. You get health, AD, and ability haste, all stats that you want. But I think the main reason you go for this is because of the Sunder, which allows you to shred 5% of enemy armor for 6 seconds and stacks up to 5 times. So, now, in case you didn't know, your E doesn't proc this because your E does magic damage, so you can't use your Make It Rain to proc Black Cleaver, but the main way you proc Black Cleaver is with your ultimate. Now, this not only benefits yourself, but also benefits your team, because imagine if your enemies are stuck in the ultimate, they take like 3 waves, they're going to be having 15% less physical damage, which will make your 4th wave do more damage, and make your team do more damage, you know, that sort of deal. So Black Cleaver is a very effective item on Miss Fortune herself. And lastly, you finish it off with a GA, which of course is going to help you with the revives in case you get instantly bursted. Miss Fortune, of course, has utterly no mobility, so it's really easy to just instantly just burst a Miss Fortune if you're out of position. And lastly, we're going to discuss the boot enchant. Obviously, the best boot enchant is normally going to be Stasis, but another option you have is also going for Proto Belt or QSS if you prefer. Proto Belt, you do take pretty often because, as I said, you have no mobility, so this is your only form of mobility if you do take it. Yeah. So next up, we're going to talk about the runes. So now, unlike Lethality Varus, actually, Miss Fortune still has a relatively easy time stacking up Conqueror. So you actually still take Conqueror because if we think about it, your Q hits onto 2 targets, that's 2 stacks. You can auto for a 3rd stack. Maybe you hit an E for a 4th stack, and then and by that time your Q should be up, and you can Q for the 5th stack or auto for the 5th stack. So you can stack up Conqueror relatively easily, even though you're going for like a lethality kind of build. So Conqueror is still the way to go. And you know, the general rule of thumb is if you can't take Conqueror, you do take Conqueror. So yeah. Now for Domination Rune, this is a very interesting one. So we don't go for like the Gluttonous Greaves, but Hunter Vampirism I still feel is a relatively good option because, you know, Brutal, I don't like it because it just gets outscaled. Gathering Storm, not good on AD champions. Now Triumph actually could be a good option because, of course, you know, you doing more damage to low health enemies and restoring health, you know, will never really be a bad option. So Triumph is sort of like, I feel Triumph is sort of the rune in this page where if you have no other better rune to take, you take Triumph, because I just don't like taking Brutal, basically. Now, Weakness is an option as well, because Miss Fortune does slow with her E, so she is able to proc the Weakness, and especially later on when you get your Serelda's Grudge, your Weakness will be procking a lot more as well. Champion is also an option because you are very, very strong early game, and this is going to make you do a lot more damage in the early game, but I think, you know, Miss Fortune a little bit too easy to die, so I don't generally go for that. I like to go for Hunter Vampirism, so I have at least a little bit of lifesteal in my kit, but, you know, you could go for Champion or Triumph, you know, as well. Now for the second rune, obviously you go for Hunter Titan or you go for Bone Ping, depending on whether you want more tenacity or you want more burst immunity. Of course, Adaptive Carapace is an option as well. Seeing as Miss Fortune is such a strong early game champion, it does make sense to go for Adaptive Carapace. And now lastly, it's between Hunter Genius and Mana Flow Ban. Now personally, since we have the Mana Mune, I don't really think we need the Mana Flow Ban. Now of course, Mana Flow Ban will increase damage of Mana Mune as well, but I think it's way more important to get the ability haste from the Hunter Genius. You get a ton of ability haste from the Hunter Genius, and you also get ability haste from the Mana Mune, from the Edge, actually not the Edge of Night, you don't get it from the Edge of Night, from the Mana Mune, from the Serelda's Grudge, and from the Black Cleaver, so overall quite a bit of ability haste, and also from the Lucidity Boots if you choose to go for it. So you should be spamming your spells non-stop by the time you reach later on into the game. Lastly, for the spells, obviously, as usual, you go for Flash, and you go for Exhaust, of course Barrier being an option as well. So that took quite some time, but now we can finally move on to talking about the gameplay. Alright, so now here we have the gameplay. So as usual, don't forget, you know, to like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video. And, you know, if you have any questions, queries, remarks, whatever, put them in the comments below and I will be, of course, responding to them. Alright, so here we have the gameplay. So now this gameplay is a pretty interesting one because this is not going to be any kind of a stompy game. This is going to be a very close game throughout the game. So this is a very interesting, very interesting gameplay. Now I'll show you guys how, you know, Miss Fortune, we all know, is not the strongest champion. And I'm against a Jinx, who in my opinion is the second best ADC after Kai'Sa, and I put Jinx in the S+ tier in my latest tier list for patch 3.1a. We won't be doing a tier list for 3.1b, so but I can still tell you that if I did make one, I would still put Jinx in the S+ tier. Either way, I think Jinx is really strong, so we're up against a Jinx, and we also have a Janna. So Janna could be a bit annoying because she can actually remove your ultimate using her Q or her ultimate. She can disrupt your ultimate. Same goes with Camille's hook shot, also can disrupt your ultimate. So Ziggs bomb also disrupts your ultimate, as well as Gragas body slam. So you really gotta get into a safe position. Now here you can see the early game strength of Miss Fortune. Boom, we get the first blood onto the Janna. We exhaust the Jinx to try to get the kill on Jinx as well, but we're tanking up all the minions, so we gotta back off just a little bit. Now here Jinx steps up again. Of course, just take a look at the early game damage from Miss Fortune. Sona picks up the kill and flashes out. So we pick up a early double kill in the lane, in the sense that, you know, both our lane opponents died. So really nice, good start for us. Now this really shows that, you know, even though Miss Fortune is not the strongest champion, I still put her in the A+ tier. I still think she has a place in the game, and she really is very strong early game. Like, not many champions can compete with her early game. Of course, if you're against something like a Lucian or a Draven, you probably will be in trouble. But if you're against like a Jinx, a Kai'Sa, a Vayne, you know, you should be winning against them, and you should be bullying them because you have the early game damage, whereas they scale way better than you. So here, basically we want to trade at every available opportunity because we win trades. Of course, not standing in the middle of like 7 minions, but we do win trades in general. Like boom, they take a look at that. Untradeable damage, just bouncing the Q, the double what's it called, double up onto the Janna. Now here comes the Gragas, but it doesn't look like the enemy team is quite ready to follow up. So we managed to get the kill onto Janna, as in Sona just managed to get the kill onto the low HP Janna. Unfortunately, the kill off of Sona managed to get Gragas to level 5, which allowed him to ult me toward them. If not, I wouldn't quite have died there. Here Fizz comes in, doesn't quite hit his E, doesn't quite hit his ult, focuses the wrong target, and just donates his life over to the Gragas. So Gragas picking up a triple kill just off that one gank. Really dream gank for the Gragas there. So as I said, you know, this is not going to be a stomping game. We're going to be dying quite a bit in this game, if I remember correctly. So it's going to be a really interesting one to show you guys how we still manage to, you know, pretty much carry the game and all. And, you know, with lethality Miss Fortune, of course your ult is really important. Same goes with crit Miss Fortune. Like in Miss Fortune, your ult will always be important, which I kind of whiffed there. The point being is that my ult, I'm going to be whiffing my ult quite a number of times here. So that kind of led to the enemy team picking up a double kill, so that was not good at all. Kind of mis-aimed my ult a little bit there. Obviously, I never use auto target. That was me manually targeting, but I manually targeted to a little bit of the wrong spot. Yeah, it kind of happens. Haven't played Miss Fortune in a long time. Alright, so regardless, in crit Miss Fortune, you can rely on your auto attacks, and in lethality Miss Fortune, you can rely on your Qs, because you're not always going to have the perfect ult opportunity. So sometimes your ult, while it is a game-changing ult, sometimes you don't have the chance to hit it onto multiple targets, or you have to use it on one target. And in the future team fight, you don't have your ultimate anymore, so you have to sort of rely on your what else you have at your disposal aside from your ultimate. But I will say that normally you do pick Miss Fortune for her ultimate. Like, you know, like why else would you pick Miss Fortune aside from her ultimate? So here we pick up a plate, and then we can rotate over to the dragon. Since the enemy team looks like they're going for Herald, so we're gonna take the dragon. Somehow I end up getting the last hit on the dragon, and the enemy team for some reason rotated all to mid lane. They're 4-man pushing mid lane. They do get the first tower, I guess, but I'm gonna try my best to trade the tower here. I'm just gonna focus this tower as fast as I can. In the meantime, my entire team is just dying in the mid lane. Unfortunately, now here the unfortunate situation is I don't even manage to trade the tower because I ran out of minions and my entire team died. So here the entire enemy team could have been rotating down to kill me. I don't know. So I'm gonna have to play it a little bit safe. Looks like it's only the Jinx here for now. Janna shows up to the party, so I'm gonna have to be a little bit cautious. Here I get hit by the Jinx, zap into the Janna rocket. Now I know I'm in trouble. Of course, here I'm just going to ult to try to threaten them. I get hit by Jinx. Ulti. Jinx takes tower aggro. I actually managed to get the kill onto the Jinx. I get ignited, I believe, by the Janna. Actually, no, that was not the ignite. I think that was the red buff burn from the Janna. Yeah, it was the red buff burn from the Janna. So I do tank the red buff burn from the Janna, and unfortunately she does escape. Sona can't really quite finish off the Janna, but what she can do is to disrupt the Janna's recall. Alright, so as you can see, we're 2-3-2. We're not even positive in terms of kills versus deaths. Ziggs comes in for our gang, and Janna is in trouble. Obviously, I have no ult since we just popped it earlier. So here, as I say, we have to rely on the Qs and the autos. Qs are doing decent damage. We do have the dirt. Nice Q into ult by Vi, gets the shutdown onto the Gragas. I'm trying my best to back her up. I managed to hit my E to slow down the Jinx, and Fizz trying to finish off the kill. Ult finally comes back up. Thought there might be a possibility that the kill wouldn't be finished off, so I did pop the ult there. Fizz manages to take down the tower, tanking a couple of tower shots to do so. But yeah, so at this point in time, as a lethality misfortune, we're not that strong yet because we don't quite have the evolved mana. I mean, now we have the Edge of Night, so we do have that. And I actually forgot to mention this in the build section, but honestly, between Edge of Night, Black Cleaver, and Serraldo's Grudge, all these 3 items can be swapped around in terms of build order. But yeah, so now we should be really strong when we hit 3 items. That is like the evolved Manamune, Edge of Night, and Serraldo's Grudge, because you really need the slow from Serraldo's Grudge to kind of increase your DPS with your ultimate. But here we have the safety of the Edge of Night, and we still have the mana from the Manamune, and we're trying our best to evolve it into the Mirror Mana as fast as we can. I clear out the bot lane. My team is all in the top side of the map, so I'm going to rotate over to the mid lane to clear the minions there before going over to help my team. Now here, a huge fight happens between the two teams over basically no objective, but here I'm going to hop on over to see what I can do. Gragas is on the chase, he sees me, he goes away. Here comes, I believe that is the Jinx, yep, that is the Jinx. Janna as well, so can't quite fight here. Wukong actually goes in with his ultimate, so this is a good opportunity for me to ult. Fortunately, he doesn't use the second phase of the ultimate, at least not just yet. Here I flash forward to try to get the kill onto Janna, but really my auto attacks don't really do too much damage. I need to hit like a Q bounce onto her to be able to kill her, which is not what is happening at the moment. So yeah, not really the ideal situation. So you're gonna see me do this like about twice in the game, which is overestimating my damage because I'm more used to playing crit misfortune than lethality misfortune. So I do expect my autos to do more damage, but in reality when you play lethality misfortune, your autos just really don't do as much damage. Alright, so here we see the Fizz getting a nice pick onto the Ziggs, and enemy team summons the Rift Herald. The Ocean Dragon is actually up. Here a fight starts breaking out, so here I'm rotating over to join my team. No ultimate up and available, of course, so here I'm just going to rely on my auto attacks and my Q bounces. Gragas gets onto me and I just die instantly because the Gragas is super duper fat. He's building full AP, so that's not going to be too good for us, and our entire team dies. Only Wukong is left. He's split pushing in the top lane, unfortunately, so basically enemy team should be getting a free dragon. Ziggs does respond to the Wukong push, so Wukong has to stop his push. Vi respawns, but too little too late. Of course, enemy team does pick up the dragon. I respawn as well, and yeah, so here 2, 4, and 7. But if you notice, despite us being so behind, if you take a look at the goal, I'm going to direct your attention to the goal. Look at how much gold I have. I have 8.2k gold. How much gold does Gragas have? He has 8.3k gold, so I'm only 100 gold behind the Gragas. And if you take a look at the rest of my team and the enemy team, I actually have the second, or actually now at this point after farming a minion wave, I have the most gold in the game despite having a not the best in the world kind of KDA. Now how did this happen? Basically this is from me just trading. So here I get my ult disrupted by the Camille, really irritating, really annoying of course. How did this happen? Basically I farm minion waves whenever I can. I try to take down the tower, get the tower plates whenever I can. I basically just try to pick up farm wherever I can. Like here, you guys can see we're not gonna we don't win the fight. I'm not chasing the kills. I'm just gonna pick up all the farm. Look at the huge minion wave. So I'm just taking farm wherever I can, and I still have the most gold in the game. I have more gold than the 8 and 3 Gragas. I have more gold than the 3, 1, and 8 Ziggs. You know, I still have the most gold in the game despite being only 2, 4, and 9. So this really shows that the game is not just all about kills. It is also about how well you can farm, how you maximize getting your gold, you know, not just from kills but from minions, you know, from jungle monsters even, you know, from towers, basically from all sorts of sources, you know, just getting the goals. I still have the most gold in the game, which is of course great news. I'm still in a position to carry. I may not look the most fat, but I actually am really fat in terms of the goal. So this might even be a good kind of situation because the enemy team doesn't think that I'm that fat, but I really am. So here again I get my ult disrupted, really irritating. My ults are really not on point in this particular game, but we do manage to finish the kill onto Ziggs and get ulted by the Camille. Fortunately, not too much comes of it. Really nice ult by the Wukong. Unfortunately, I don't have my ult anymore, so probably holding on to it would have been useful there. Here I'm flashing over to auto attack the Camille. Finally, the flash auto attack does pick up, does net me the kill. Here I'm just trying to DPS anybody. Jinx does a crap ton of damage, so we got to be a bit cautious there. Boom! Jinx gets the double kill, resets off of me, and here Jinx gets a triple. Jinx, I think she gets a quadra. No, she doesn't. Not Janna. Sona manages to finish her off and get the shutdown onto the Jinx. But yeah. Alright, so now at this point, you know, we have the stasis completed, as you guys can see from that Camille ultimate. We have the evolved Manamune at last. We have the Agent Knight, and we have the Sorrel's Grudge. So now this is where we should be, you know, in a really good spot. Now, of course, beyond this is sort of like your final power spike, and after this, with the later on you get into the game, the more and more you're gonna fall off, because Miss Fortune, sort of like a Draven, doesn't really scale too well into the later stages of the game. The early and mid game is sort of where she is strong. When you get too late on into the game, she isn't gonna be that strong anymore, because she gets outscaled by all the other ADCs and a lot of other champions. Alright, so here I want to take the red buff, of course, but for some reason the Vi gives it, but the Fizz does not. So Fizz steals the red buff for some reason. Doesn't quite make sense because Fizz, you know, he's AP, doesn't make as good use of red buff as me or even the Vi. But you know, this is of course solo queue, and this sort of things happen. What can you really do about it? So yeah, so as usual, we're gonna farm those minion waves. We still have the most gold in the game, by the way. We're just barely having more than a Jinx. Now, Jinx probably farmed the minion wave. Now she has more than me, but basically, you know, we are up there farming another minion wave, of course. And here, the enemy team puts Herald down in top, so we got to sort of respond to it. Gragas is over here, so I can't simply just walk straight on up. Gotta be a bit cautious. The whole enemy team is in the Baron area, actually, so here I'm just trying to DPS whoever I can from the back. Mostly it's the Camille because she's the closest. Here I find a relatively alright ult opportunity. As I said, Janna can disrupt your ult, but it does take a little bit of time for that to happen. The lethality finally shining through and allowing me to pick up the kill onto Jinx. Really nice timing by Vi to pick up the kill onto the Camille. And here we're on the chase. I flash forward again, but I do utterly no damage to the Dragons now. Obviously really wasted flash, but oh well. Doesn't really quite work out. Not really learning my lesson from the start of the game, but by now, you know, we realize that, hey, you know, it doesn't really do too much damage. And if you guys notice, throughout the entire fight, we were untouched. Our Edge of Night is even still up. So we really were untouched pretty much the entire fight. Here, I do get hit by Gragas' ultimate. Unfortunately, Edge of Night did not immune that because he did use his barrel first, but fortunately, it's 1v4, so we do manage to actually kill both him and Janna and escape with both the Cloud Dragon and our lives as well. So here, we're pinging for Baron because obviously the enemy jungle Gragas just died. So this is a really good opportunity to take the Baron. And yeah, so here we're just going for it. I believe that's the Camille. That does spot us out, and we decide not to go for it because we as you guys can see, we don't DPS the Baron that fast. Probably it's because I'm lethality and not crit, so my auto attacks don't do too much damage. But yeah, so here we're just gonna bat, reset, get resources, and build toward our Black Cleaver. Red buff is coming up again, and obviously I do want to take that red buff. So here we're just waiting around. Here red buff finally spawns. Mr. Fizz coming back into the area, and I'm like, oh no, not this again. So I actually say I want to take the red buff, and he actually doesn't back off this time, which, you know, thankfully that is the case. So here, as usual, you know, nothing's going on. We're just gonna farm the Krugs. I see nothing's going on, but really Wukong just TP'd into 1v1 the Camille for some reason. So I'm just gonna kite the Krugs while heading over to that area. Fizz lands the ultimate onto Camille. Camille Steroids gauge. Actually, really nice Camille ultimate to immune herself from the Fizz ultimate, but unfortunately for her, she still dies regardless. So Ziggs is pushing the mid lane, whereas the rest of us are in the top lane. I get a relatively good ult onto Jinx, who is a priority target. We finish off the Jinx with the auto Q, and Gragas is really low as well. We're gonna finish him off as well, and we pretty much kill everybody on the enemy team aside from the Ziggs. Now Ziggs is still pushing onto the inhib, but it doesn't really matter because 3 of us can push faster and actually end the game faster than him. Ziggs has to recall to stop us, and here Vi doing her job, she's gonna stop the Ziggs recall. So basically at this point in time we can just straight up end the game because there's no one to stop us from doing so, and we do manage to pick up the victory. Now I'm gonna leave you guys with the stats as usual, but just take note of how much damage Miss Fortune actually can do. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.